Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of the how to make a Blox Fruits type game series. In this video I'll be showing you how to fix some stuff with the punching system. So we're going to be fixing up the combat system and to time in the particle and the damage in exactly with the punch animation. And we'll also be adding this nice dashing system. And also I'll be showing you how to set up your project properly. Before this video starts, if you guys want to support me and want to have access to all of my project files, including the one you're watching right now, they will all be available on my Patreon in the $10 tier. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to set up our project in a little bit of a better way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a folder in the workspace and it's going to be called core objects. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get rid of the NPCs of the scriptable objects folder, and the next thing we want to do is we will rename this remote folder to events, because we will also have remote functions and other stuff. And then I want to rename this shared folder to modules, and inside of that I'm going to have a folder and I'm going to call it utilities. Okay, now what I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to add a folder and I'm going to call it services. Services. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a folder and I'm going to call it modules. And we will get rid of the server modules folder and we will get this script and we'll turn it into a module. So we will add a module in here to the services folder and we'll call it punch. So we're going to call it punch service. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some references. So local events equals, and we're not going to do that yet because we need replicated storage. So we're going to do local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage, and in here we're going to do local events equals replicated storage dot events. And what I'm going to do here is event dot, and it's called punch dot on server event connect function, and this is just going to take the player, and I think that's all it's gonna take. Then we'll copy everything that we did in here. Just Control X to cut and paste it there. Now we'll get rid of this script, but before we do that, we'll take this particle and we'll put it there. Now we can get rid of the server scripts. Actually, yeah, I think we can do that. Just get rid of server scripts. And the next thing we want to do is we'll add a module to the modules folder and we'll call it loader. And now we'll leave a link to Sleitnick's module loader module. I'll leave a link to it in the description to the GitHub. You will go to that page and you will copy the code and you will paste it here in this loader module. Now what we're going to do is we'll add a script to server script service and we'll call it server runtime. And what we're going to do is local services equals game.serverScript service.services. And what we're gonna do in here is we'll do we're gonna get replicated storage. So local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage, and local loader equals require replicated storage dot modules dot utilities dot loader. And then we're gonna do loader dot load children. Then we're going to do services, and that's all we're going to do. Now if you go back to your to starter player and starter player scripts, we also need to set this up. So I'm going to have a folder that's going to be called controllers, and we're going to have another folder that's going to be called modules. And now we can just get rid of these other folders. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enter our punch client script over here. And what I'm going to do is change some references in here. So this should be fine. remote, we're going to change that to events equals replicator stores, going to wait for child events. And the next thing we need to do is to put the camera shaker module in the utilities module and the utilities folder, sorry. And what we're going to do is camera shaker, going to wait for child utilities, no, modules, going to wait for child utilities, going to wait for child camera shaker. And I think that is all we need to do. We also need to get down here and we're going to change this to events. Now, one thing that really annoys me is that the punch is not correctly timed with when we are damaging the player, and I'll show you how to fix that. Also, I went ahead and changed the combat animation to this because I think it looked better. And now I'll show you the problem. So when you punch, this is not correctly timed. So as you can see, the damage is not correctly timed with the punch itself, and I'll show you how to fix that. So we will go to the animation editor plugin. Just go to avatar animation editor, and we're gonna select some random rig, and I'm going to import from Roblox, and I'm going to get my punch in animation, and this is it. So what you're gonna do is we will go to the time where you wanna damage the player, so it's going to be around here, and you will right click and just do I think it's rename keyframe, keyframe, and we'll rename it to fire punch, and just press save. Now we will go ahead and publish to Roblox and overwrite existing asset, and you're going to click on your animation, and now that is all we need to do. And what we're going to do now is in the punch client script, before we do both of these things, so shake the camera and fire the punch remote event, what we need to do is punch animation dot keyframe reached colon connect and function, and that's going to take keyframe name. And now we'll just cut both of these and we'll paste them in, and we're going to add an if statement before that, which is going to be if keyframe name equals fire punch, then, and just cut that and paste it there. Okay, now I'll just remove these unnecessary spaces, and if you play the game now, it should call the remote when we punch. Okay, so I'll try that out, and as you can see, that does work, but the damage doesn't work very well. But I think it works. Okay, let's try it out with this other guy, and as you can see, I think it works fine. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now is make a server-sided debounce. So we'll enter our punch service, and we'll have a table in here. It's going to be called local debounces, local punch debounces equals, and it's going to be equal to an empty table. And in here we're going to do if punch debounces player, then return. And in here what we're going to do is we'll just do a task dot, I think we'll just do it in here. So task dot spawn function, and what we're gonna do is punch debounces player equals true, and what we're gonna do next is task dot wait, maybe something like 1 second, and punch debounces player equals false. And we also need to check if punch debounces player, then, and we're gonna set it to nil, not false. Okay, so if you play the game now, also lower this. This should prevent spamming the remote event. Okay, let's try that out. I'm going to open up the output and I'll just try this. Okay, so the first one works, the second punch works. Okay, so we know that our debounce works. So the next thing I want to do is make a dashing system. So I will just close all of the other scripts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my animation editor again, and I will make a dash animation. So I'll first of all create a new animation track. So I think you can do that by pressing create new, and I'll just make a an animation for when you press the dash key. Okay, so this is going to be my dash animation, and I will just set animation priority to action, and then we also need to make sure that it's looped, and now we need to publish it to Roblox, and I'm going to call it dash. And then I'll just submit this and copy the ID. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, inside of the controllers module folder, sorry, I'm going to add a module script, and I'm going to call it movement. And I will rename, I will add a folder to it, and I'm going to call it animations. And we'll add an animation track, and we'll call it dash. And then you just paste in the animation ID. Now what we need to do is to run all of these controllers the same way we did that for the server runtime script. So what we're going to do is we'll add a local script, and we'll call it client runtime. And what we're going to do is local controllers equals, actually local replicated storage equals game.get service replicated storage. Local loader equals require replicated storage, wait for child modules, wait for child utilities, wait for child, and we're just gonna do loader, and we're gonna do the loader dot, and we're gonna do load children, and we're gonna do script dot parent dot controllers. Okay, so that should work, and what we're gonna do now is we will enter our movement controller. We'll also call it movement controller. And what I will do is in here we will need to get a user input service, so local user input service equals game.get service user input service. And now in here what we're going to do is user input service dot input began connect function, and that's going to take the input and the game processed event. Okay, so now we're gonna check if not game processed event, then return. Okay, so first of all, we do not need this not over here, and what we're gonna do now is if input.keycode equals enum.keycode.q, then this is where we want to initiate the dash. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a function module.dash. Actually, we just need to do local function dash. And what I will do is I will get players, so local players equals game.get service players, and local player equals players.local player. And now in here we're gonna do local character equals player.character, and or player.character added wait. And now we're gonna do if character equals nil, then return. And then we're gonna do local humanoid root part equals character find first child humanoid root part, and local humanoid equals character find first child humanoid. Now we'll check if humanoid root part equals nil, then return, and if humanoid equals nil, then return, and if humanoid dot health equals nil, then return. Okay, so I think we can probably just merge both of these in here. So equals nil, or humanoid dot health equals 0, then return. Then we can just get rid of this, and just like that we only have 2 if statements in this part now. Okay, so what we need to do now is fire a remote event. So I will go here, and I will go to the events folder, and I will add a remote event, and I will call it dash. And now what we can do is we'll add a in here we're gonna get the events folder, so local events equals, but before we do that we need to get replicated storage, so local replicated replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage, and local events equals replicated storage wait for child events. And now we're gonna do events dot dash fire server. Okay, so what we need to do now is call this dash function whenever we press Q. And now what we're gonna do is we will add a module script to the services, and we'll just call it dash service, or maybe movement service. And what we're gonna do is in here we'll need to okay, so let's just go to punch service, and let's just copy these, and we'll paste them there. And in here, instead of having punch debounces, we're gonna do local dash debounces, and it's going to be an empty table. So now we're gonna do events dot dash dot on client event dot on server event, sorry, connect function. That's going to take the player. We will just copy that. Actually, now that I think about it, we don't need to do these checks in here. We might as well just do them in the server. Now we need to create a nice trail. So what I'm going to do is I will just go to the humanoid root part. Or actually, I'll just go to the okay, let's check. So in the upper torso, we'll add a trail, and we'll set attachment 0. It's just a view, and let's just go to model and show wheels and show details, and we'll set the attachments. So attachment 0 should be let's just set it to this, and attachment 1 should be, let's set it to that. Okay, let's try that. Okay, I think this is fine. Now what we need to do is to select our trail. I want to make it glow, so light emission, I'll just bump that up. And now we need to mess around with the transparency. Just make a nice trail, really. Okay, so this is the trail that I ended up with. I think it looks pretty nice. And what I'm going to do now is I'll just put it in the I think I'll just put it in the movement service script, and I'll call it dash trail. Now we'll remember what we set attachment 0 and attachment 1 to. So it's waist back attachment and left shoulder rig attachment. Okay, so what we need to do now is we will get the dash trail. So local dash trail equals script dot dash trail clone. We're gonna do dash trail dot parent equals, and we'll just parent it to character dot upper torso. Now we need to do dash trail dot attachment 0, and we'll set it to character dot lower torso dot waist back attachment. Okay, so attachment 1 should be left shoulder rig attachment. Let's just double check where it is. Left shoulder, of course it's in the left shoulder. Rig attachment. Oh, it's not in the left shoulder. So now dash trail dot attachment 1 will be equal to, and okay, so it should be wait, is it in the upper torso or the left upper arm? It should be in the left in the upper torso. So character dot upper torso dot and left shoulder rig attachment. Actually, it should be in the head dot, and we'll just do neck rig attachment. Okay, so now we'll just add a task dot weight, and I think I'll give it something like 0.6 seconds, or let's just do task dot delay, and we'll just do 1 second function, and we're just going to dash trail on destroy, and in here we'll check if dash debounces player, then return, and in here we will do task dot spawn function, or actually we'll just do dash debounces player equals true, And after we are done, we'll just do dash debounces player equals false, and then we can just add a task dot wait, something like 2 seconds, so that you're only able to dash every 2 seconds. And we'll also need to set it to nil, and we'll also need to check if dash debounces player then. Okay, so that is all we need to do in here. Now we also need to create a vector force. So local vector force, column vector force equals instance.new, and we'll create a vector force. I'm gonna do vector force dot parent equals, and we'll set it to the character dot humanoid root part, and we'll set the vector force, so vector force dot force, and it's going to be character dot humanoid root part dot look vector, and we're going to multiply that by a number. So I'll put it to like 20 or 10, and now we'll just we'll keep it enabled. And after this, we'll also do vector force on destroy. Or we can have another task.delay 0.5 function, and in here you can do vector force colon destroy. Okay, so let's try that out and see if it works. Okay, so this should be humanoid root part dot cframe dot look vector. I don't know how I messed that up. Okay, so we also need to set the vector force's attachment 0. So vector force dot attachment 0, and it should be equal to, let's just check something. So in the humanoid root part there is root attachment. Let's check where that is, and no, I think it should be in the root rig attachment. Okay, so let's just do that. Vector force attachment 0 equals character or humanoid root part dot root rig attachment. And now that I think about it, we really don't need all these character.humanoid root parts because we already have that. Okay. Okay, so these are the settings that I ended up with. So you need to change the force to the cframe.look vector multiplied by 15,000, and relative to should be enum.actuator relative to .world, and task.delay 0.5, and we delete the trail, and after 0.2 seconds we delete the vector force, and this is how it looks. Now we need to play the animation. And I also want to lower the cooldown because of the debounce, because it's a little too much. So I'll just do 1 second. Okay, now I need to play the animation. So what we'll do is we'll get this dash animation and we'll put it, we'll take this whole animations folder and we'll put it in the movement service. And what we're going to do is local animations. So local animations equals script.animations, and what we'll do is animations, so wait, humanoid.animator load animation, and script and animations dot dash, and we'll change this to local dash animation equals, and we'll put it after this. Okay, then what we'll do is when we delete the trail, we'll do dash animation stop. Okay, so let's try that out and see if it works. Actually, we are not playing the dash animation, so dash animation play. Okay, so it works, but as you can see, it does this weird thing, and the reason for that is because of the okay, wait. So if you go to your animation editor plugin, let's just dog that in here and close this. You need to basically move every single little limb so that it overrides the other animations that are playing. So just do that. I'll do it like this. And the head now. And I'll just move this a little. And I think we should be good now. I'll just publish this and overwrite existing asset dash, and I will play the game now and see if that worked. And as you can see, it does in fact work. Okay, so I think this is going to be it for today's tutorial. If this helped, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!